This video is sponsored by Nightweave, makers of the ultimate functional and comfortable adventuring cloaks. More about them later in the video. What is LARP? Live action roleplay. It's like tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons, but played in real life. This is what most people think LARP is.
Live action role-playing!
Welcome to the fields of Evermore!
If you get hit in the torso, it's fatal.
So violent.
Let us gingerly touch our tips.
Like your hat. Thanks, my mom made it.
But what is LARP really like? That's what I've set out to discover in making this video. As a complete noob who had never LARPed before, I created my own character and attended one of Australia's biggest week-long LARP events with my son to see what LARP is really all about. And I have to say, I experienced and discovered things I never expected that forever have changed my understanding of what LARP is. There is a lot to unpack in this video, so I've organized the chronicles of my journey into LARP into the convenience of a numbered list. Part 1, my call to adventure. I wanted to start by talking about why I've been motivated to do this. LARP is one of those things that I've always been interested in or curious about, but had no idea where to start or was too nervous or just didn't know how to get into it. I've known that I love role-playing, immersing myself in and sharing role-play content for over a decade now. And as for the live action bit, anyone who's watched this channel for any period of time knows that I'm a bit of a performer.
Yes.
My name is French JAZZA'S and this is my clip.
I actually met my wife participating in local theatre productions, and over the many years of running this channel, I'm pretty eager to find pretty much any excuse to get into a costume and goof around. So knowing that it would probably be a good fit for me, how was I supposed to get started with LARP? Well, the advice I found online says basically to find your local clubs and see what they're into. And if you're from Victoria, Australia like me, there really is one king of the local LARP, and that is Swordcraft. Swordcraft is a LARP group themed around Games Workshop's Warhammer setting and began as a Melbourne-based LARP group that has since expanded to many other chapters, including Gippsland, which is near me. On top of that, for many years they've been running an annual week-long LARP camp called Quest, in which people camp in thematic tents and spend days role-playing and battling it out as their characters. This honestly sounded like my idea of heaven. I also saw it as a potentially great opportunity to spend some quality time with my son, who is also himself very theatrical, if not more so than me. He is literally always in costume, usually as his favourite video game characters, and he also has inherited my love of camping, which we do from time to time together in our backyard. In short, I figured my son and I are a perfect fit for this LARP camp, so I signed us up to a membership and booked our tickets to Swordcraft Quest. After that, I realised I had no idea what to expect, how to behave, what the rules were, what to do, where to go, who to be, or anything really, so. Part 2, crossing the threshold. I figured the best place to start would be with our costumes. I got myself some leather armor, tunic, gloves, pants, belt, and LARP-ready sword and shield, and of course spent a month growing out my beard for the big event. And my son was kitted out in a handmade blue tunic, grey cloak, gloves, and sword and shield to match my own, but just hobbit-sized. And let's not forget there's Benny. Yeah, sorry mate, you're not getting out of this. He's going to be coming along to film our adventure and our experience, but he can't just be a cameraman in plain clothes, he's going to blend in too. So we figured he could be some kind of wizard, would be following us around wielding his staff of memory capture, which looks strangely like a modern monopod and camera, but they probably won't notice, it's fine. From what I gathered online, a big part of the LARP experience is actually outside of the act of LARPing, and that is the creativity that goes into it. Not only coming up with an interesting character or a cool story, but also in how you bring that to life through their costume and their props. And while most of these can be brought from different online retailers, like we did for the foundation of our costumes, most enthusiastic and longer-term LARP participants opt to hand make at least some elements of their costumes and characters, so that their characters can be truly unique and tell their own story, having an added benefit of often being much cheaper. So I wanted to properly participate in the whole LARP experience, which of course includes a little bit of this preparatory creativity, adding some handcrafted creativity to my character's costume, while I also use that time to figure out who my character might be. So let me take you back to the week before the big event, which I spent being crafty. Now, I have to say, the foundation of my costume I'm really happy with, but it doesn't feel particularly unique. So I want to create an element that I can wear on top of it that gives me a little more personal character. Speaking of my character, I don't have a lot, to be honest. The setting of Swordcraft Quest is based in the Warhammer Old World setting, and I really know next to nothing about the lore, but I want to start off by playing it safe and sticking to the more familiar. I'm going to make my character a former mercenary turned farmer who's looking for a simple life to raise his son and show him the ways of honest work. But it's a cruel world out there, and I want to show my son the truth of it and how to look after himself so he can thrive and live and hopefully find some peace in the future. There you go, that's what I'm thinking for my character's voice. I sort of want to pick a name that starts with a J that I could be like, no, I'm blah blah blah. With a little bit of Googling, I came across the name JAZZ'S, which is kind of perfect because it actually means protector of glory, one who safeguards fame and honor. So if anyone happens to come up to me and say, you're Jazza, I can respond in a friendly way with, no friend, I'm JAZZ'S, but pleased to meet you. This is really cool. I'm so chuffed. Whew. But LARPing is about so much more than just characters and costumes. We have quite a bit to get to. Now we've got a solid start with our costumes and characters. The LARP is going to be so much bigger than that. It's a camp out. I'm going to be there for several days. So I've spent the last few months obsessing over finding things in vintage shops and thrift stores. This is authentic. Oh, God. We'll wash them before we use them. Then we have some things that need complete transformations to fit in with the vibe. So I am going to customize this table to feel more authentic. It's a low trestle table. And we have this esky, which I'm going to get Amy's help to cut. I have an Amy somewhere. I don't know where I put her. Ah! This is Amy, and she's going to help me customize my esky to make it even more aesthetically appropriate. Now to make this very bog standard trestle table look aged and authentic, I'm going to start with a base coat of brown spray paint. And with that done, it's time to actually put my plan in place. Taking all of these fence paling offcuts from my property, which are perfect because they're actually a really old hardwood. Now this table is much more setting appropriate than a cream trestle table, but does it work? Legs close. All right, here we go. Here we go! Yeah! Heavy as hell! I have a portable, old-fashioned table, complete with rustic details like bird poop and cobwebs. Amy's process of converting the esky into a chest consisted of first taking large foam sheets, cut to size for the different sides of the chest, and scoring them with a wood grain. When this whole tedious texturing process was done, it was a matter of gluing and taping all of these foam faux wood boards to all of the sides of the chest, and with that fully stuck down, brought the whole thing together very quickly with a few layers of spray paint. Alright, last but not least on the chopping block, chairs. So we have bags of bones and we're going to make some bone thrones. We can also use these in combination to create a bit more of a mishmash. Now I want each of these chairs to be completely unique, just in different ways. While I want these all to look really cool, I still want them to be practical camp chairs. So while they won't fit back in their original cases, they still can fold up. These bone thrones are incredible. I'm so happy with them, and I packed them all ready to head off to Quest. Oh, don't want to forget my rustic table. I packed my chesky with all our camping food and loaded everything in the car, ready to head off the next morning. Part 3, the special world history. I thought it'd be fun to first do a little bit of a historical recap as to how LARP became what it is today. Starting in the 1970s and growing in popularity by the 80s, while the hobby didn't really have a name it was known by yet, the ideas of what would become LARP were evolving independently all around the world. One of the longest standing groups being Dragorir, founded in 1977 by a bunch of college friends who shared their enthusiasm for Lord of the Rings and medieval history. Regular battles were held and friends were encouraged to come out and play. They performed demonstrations at Maryland's local Renaissance Festival. I love that some of the earliest ever LARPers used Renaissance fairs as like marketing for their clubs. The term LARP became popular in the 90s for people engaging in this hobby, and over time the culture has branched out into more and more varieties. Post-apocalyptic LARP, whether wastelanders or survivors of a zombie apocalypse. Vampire LARP, complete with ornate Victorian costumes and a lust for blood. Historical fiction, which ranges so many different periods and histories: Western, Edwardian, Middle Ages, Civil War, Vikings, the list goes on. And then there's horror mystery LARP. Think of it like if the classic murder mystery culture were mixed with fiction like that of H.P. Lovecraft. And of course, medieval fantasy LARP, which continues to be the most popular around the world. Local clubs holding weekly games and battles and annual events that take the LARP experience to the next level. Such as Bicoline, if that's how you pronounce it, based in Canada in an entire medieval town built for these events. And there's Conquest of Mythodia in Germany with over 10,000 yearly attendees. Then there's Pensik in USA, again with over 10,000 annual attendees. And Swordcraft Quest in Victoria, Australia, which I was very excited to attend and had no idea what to expect. Part 4, the approach. The day had finally come. We drove to Swordcraft Quest, which is a 3-hour drive from us, to a far-off mystical land known as Sudenburg, where adventure awaited. The Swordcraft organization has held their Quest event for many years now in various locations, but in recent years they've all been held at a property now owned by the Swordcraft Company. Set in Western Victoria amongst the scatterings of volcanic rocks that have also been used locally to make stacked stone walls in the local areas, transforming the locale into something reminiscent of the Cotswolds in England. As soon as I arrived, I was met with tents and crowds of another world, making it clear my transformation into character would have to be pretty immediate. We're here. This feels like we've definitely jumped in the deep end. There's lots of tents, lots of people in costume, and it looks like people are gearing up before heading in. Turns out, you leave yourselves at the car park. We are no longer who we are, and we shall become, well, I shall become JAZZA'S. That's right, I forgot my own name. This is Stephen. And this is...
Erroneous Narput. Is that what I mean?
Erroneous Narput. Let's gear up. Look at you, my boy, ready for adventure. You want to see what I made yesterday, son? Do you remember that time I saved our family from that rampaging wolf? Well, I turned the wolf into a lovely neck piece. It was at this moment that JAZZA'S realised he forgot his boots. Excuse me, gentle bearded men. Is there a sign-in place?
Hey, there is. I think it's actually down there. Straight around that corner.
There is the cart repairman. Oh, thank you so much.
Normally people are a part of war bands where they sort of share like a faction and they battle together and have groups, but we were unaffiliated, so we were directed to set up in the unaffiliated section. Place for the friendless noobs. Yeah, on our way to finding a camping spot, I witnessed my first roleplay event, which seemingly had a dead guy in the middle surrounded by others, some kind of funeral or shrine or something. They were definitely paying their respects. I can swear they're looting a dead man's corpse. Should we loot his corpse?
What are they doing?
You're getting free stuff off a dead guy. Now this whole ritual will make much more sense to me by the end of our adventure, which you'll see later in this video. But I just wanted to point out, which you'll come to see, that it's kind of poetic that a funeral would be the first thing I witnessed at Quest and have no idea what was happening. We picked an empty patch of ground in the unaffiliated area and set up our tent. A canvas tent I purchased from Bunnings to fit in with the thematic surrounding as much as possible. Should be no problem, right? Now, while I'm certainly glad I got a theme-appropriate tent, at this point I was really happy I spent that extra time adding the personal touches to my creative campsite dressings. Made me feel like I was able to sprinkle my own original flavour into this shared immersive environment. With camp set up, it was time to gear up and explore town, but not before experiencing my first critical failure in character. Never worn these things before, but I'm over a little disguise the fact that
and wearing silly shoes. I'll just grab some of this and there we go.
What?
Was that actually cow shite? It's actually cow shite.
Rubbing cow poo on you.
Pretty wrong, as they say. Well, in for the penny, in for the pound. This might be why I'm in the unaffiliated tent area. People don't want to affiliate with me.
Now, I should also mention at this point and moving forward, due to my unbridled enthusiasm and a touch of naivety, I felt the need to stay in my character voice 100% of the time. I chill out on this a little bit a couple of days in, but yeah, just a heads up, I was committed to being jazzric at all times. So now that we were geared up and I was authentically weathered and naturally textured, we set into town to see what there was to explore. The first tent we stumbled across was some sort of wizards guild, so we thought this would be a good place to sign up Benny, or Erroneous Narpet, to be a wizard. Now, the guild master in here tried very tactfully to explain things to us in character. It soon became clear this wasn't getting through to us because of how inexperienced we were, so he dropped out of character to help us understand why this was not particularly appropriate.
Going to drop out of character here for a second.
Also, I'll interrupt here just to point out that this is the universal roleplay sign, at least in Swordcraft, referred to as deer antlers, where you speak out of character. So if you're not doing deer antlers, you're considered in character, and if someone wants to check if you're consenting to whatever is happening in roleplay, or just speak as themselves and not as their character, they do that usually.
To play a wizard, you need a robe, generally indicative of the style of magic you're doing. You would not confuse me for a warrior if I were to come towards you.
So what they're saying is you look like nothing spectacular. Some person walking in the Mage's Guild like, how can I learn your ways?
Looks like is you're holding dwarven devices.
Perhaps I'm a tinkerer of some kind.
We entered the tent assuming we had a wizard companion, who by the time we left, it transpires, was a tinkerer who dabbles with dwarven devices. So I guess you could say from the very first roleplay interaction we had, our LARP experience was very transformative. Anyhow, we'd been informed that we were owed copper when we signed in for use throughout Quest, so we went to the trade house to pick it up. And on our journey, we were introduced to some of the event organizers. They knew I was coming because I had sent some emails explaining my YouTuberiness and my intent to make a video. Now, I'm assuming they were very busy leading up to Quest because I never heard back from them, but they found me to have a chat. I think to get an idea of what sort of video I was intending on making, and probably to make sure I wasn't one of those YouTubers.
What do you guys want to do? What's the plan?
What is my secret intent? I signed up before I thought of making a video or anything.
Yeah.
Just him and I. I'm turning it into a video where basically it's what's the first time experience. I have no idea what I'm up for.
Yeah.
So
easy. Yeah.
And I'm refusing to drop out of this ridiculous voice.
Okay. No worries. I just thought it was your normal voice. So
did you?
I did.
Was it convincing?
For someone who's never heard you, maybe it is. Yeah.
All right. The sort of encouragement I need to continue my obnoxious display.
Honestly, the event organizers were very friendly and weren't in any way restricting what I wanted to do. They just wanted to check I wasn't going to be intrusive to anyone else's Quest experience, which I completely understand. So after my exclusive YouTuber pre-screening, it was time to get some lunch. Fortunately, they had some food vendors on site, sort of on the outskirts of town because their modern appearance didn't quite mesh with the medieval aesthetic. And with our bellies full, it was time to properly set out and explore the town of Sudenburg. There were all sorts of really cool vendors. Costume pieces, weapons, pouches, gems, anything else you can think of for roleplay, really. There was even a large shop set up for Of Science and Swords, which is the website I pretty much bought all of my costumes and weapons from online. So you could absolutely go to Quest and leave with enough costumes for a dozen new characters. Now, while vendors did accept shadow currency, the term used for FPOS and credit card machines, many also accepted copper for the wares that they sold, the currency that you were given a bit of at the start of your Quest journey. Currency, I would come to learn, could also be earned and further traded throughout the event. Also, the day we arrived at Quest was Market Day, which means that there were no official battles that were happening that day. On Market Day, weapons and combat were strictly outlawed in town, but that wouldn't stop us from witnessing our first murder of the event.
Oh!
I was accosted by one of your rat-thieving dog scum.
Is he a baddie or a goodie?
He's a deadie, I think.
He's dead.
The market stalls weren't just all props and costumes though, there were all sorts of different things. My favourite being the stall of the Mad Mage. The Mad Mage is a character who ran a stall dedicated to himself, selling alluring artworks and telling fantastical tales of his own adventures.
I have been in Sudenburg for 13 years. Here is a lovingly detailed collection of all the different stories that I've been telling over years. The time I faked my own election, the time I helped Rook find love, the time I tortured the librarian, now we're best friends. Psychedelic Mad Mage Flowerfield, sexy Mad Mage.
Now, hang on. Slow down.
This is like a pin-up as well.
This is the weight of many bathroom doors.
I can't help but think you're putting together a sexy calendar.
Not deliberately. Vote Mad Mage, I faked my own election and lost my own fake election.
Involve the body pillar.
Oh my god!
It's the body pillar! We buried the lead!
It was delightfully nonsensical to be introduced to the Mad Mage, the stuff of local legend at Sudenburg. Moments after we met him and left his tent, I couldn't help but overhear that he also realised who I was.
That kind of minute.
At the next stall we visited, the simple surface level of the market started to slip aside as a facade and showed us a sneak peek at the dark roleplay underbelly that might unfold to us if we should be so inclined.
Is this controversial? Like, if the town knew what you were doing, you'd be in trouble.
This is very on the down low.
So what happens, like, if someone finds you out? Or snitches on you, for example? Not that, just as a off the top of my head.
Well, I would hope that since we were so gracious about showing you our altar of blood and murder, that you would understand the implications
And the
of that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, thank you for showing us your dodgy wares. We'll never be back again.
It wasn't long before we came across another one of the dark paths available to us at Quest. In the dark recesses of a massage parlour was the host of the Underworld games.
Hello, what's this?
This is like a Clovis massage.
Oh, lovely.
I also run the Underworld games.
The Underworld games.
Assassination games, mugging.
Oh, so you're like evil. We almost got recruited into a blood cult before.
Did you?
Is it one of your friends?
Which cult?
The one with the blood and the death and the corn. Corn?
Corn? Oh, we know each other. I wouldn't say we're friends.
Oh, so you're a different evil cult. We don't want to be evil, do we?
I'm a legitimate businesswoman, thank you very much.
I would never ever question that, especially when I'm in someone's back room. I keep getting recruited by evil people.
So in just our first few hours exploring Sudenburg, we saw plenty of shopkeepers and creatives, as well as a few quest paths that we could follow, at least if our characters were interested in murder or death cults. I wasn't yet sure how to go about finding quest lines more suitable to our characters' more wholesome inclinations, but we decided we could figure that out after a bit of a break. So we headed back to camp for a brief rest. Part 5, Cloaks. Now you might have noticed that my son and I have been wearing these really cool looking adventurous cloaks. They are not only cool looking, but they are incredibly comfortable and practical. I purchased them as soon as I saw them in Christopher Claflin's TikToks, knowing I wanted them for Swordcraft Quest, and when they arrived, I was blown away by how comfortable and high quality they were. So much so that I've just been wearing it at home. It's so damn comfortable, and I reached out to Chris and asked if he would be interested in sponsoring my LARP video, to which he said yes. So I'm going to hand it off to JAZZ'S to tell you about some of the features of these awesome cloaks. The Nightweave range of cloaks. Double layered with sensory safe soft lining, which is beyond comfortable. And in fact, that's the first impression I and many others have wearing these, is you'll never feel something comfier around your body.
This is so soft.
I know, right?
I feel like I want to wrap it up and just go have a little nap. Bloody, come on. Ooh.
The hood is a proper adventurer-sized hood, not only to mask you from weather, but allow a snooze when you want to as well. They have two hook and loop clasps so that you can undo the bottom one if you want and throw it over your shoulders for a more open wear. Their medium adult size fits most adults, but they have large and small. They even have halfling sizes and style, featuring some lovely colours for some of the kidlings out there. They have my genuine recommendation, whether for LARPing or just for personal comfort and style. I highly recommend them. They're a lot of fun and incredibly comfortable and very, very high quality. huge thank you to Chris and Nightweave for sponsoring this video. The cloaks are amazing. Go check them out. Links in the description. Part 6, Meeting the Mentor.
I am so comfortable.
While we were resting in our camp in the afternoon, we were approached by Chris with a gift from someone in town.
Oh, you got the sexy man mage!
Now, I'd met this Chris at my local swordcraft group that I very briefly was able to attend a month earlier. He was one of the people that inspired me with the creativity put into his character and made me want to put a bit more effort into my own stuff before attending. And he was one of the very few friendly faces at Quest that I had met before. And because Chris had delivered a gift to me from the Mad Mage's official artist, I had a connection who I could learn some of the mysteries of the Mad Mage and the other tales in Suttenberg from.
We have so many questions because we've seen his image in other shops.
Yeah.
So he's a character.
Yeah.
That's just been he's just been around a lot of quests.
He's almost like a celebrity, so he's like...
What's created this celebrity?
He's just Mad Mage, question mark. There was once a time that he was in a boy band. He was a juror, not a juror, he was a judge yesterday for a divorce of 2 characters.
Is this the sort of thing people aspire to become in the LARP community?
I mean, some people.
Chris was so helpful. He explained so many of the different activities and quests I could participate in.
You can do trade runs. You literally carry a cart and you take it up and you drop it off and you put your little token in.
Great.
I was in a battle a few days ago where we went into the wilds to try and chase down the necromancer to rescue a dragon that had been stolen. Rook, who is a half-orc who is actually in some of Mad Mage's artwork and was also in the boy band with Mad Mage. He's like known for going around with his drums and things like that. He is also the person who was getting divorced yesterday. We've got, I think, 5 different companies at the moment that are all sort of like vying for control of the town at the moment, which is Suttenberg. And that's what these clear, you might have seen them, they're called Renown.
And even showed me what the wallet of someone who truly participates in quests can look like, giving us a hint of what we could aspire to achieve in events like these.
You earn Renown and then you use your Renown to vote over in the trade house.
So you've earned this through this quest?
Yes.
Including the copper?
Yes, pretty much.
The more we talked, the more expansive the whole experience was revealing to be, with guilds to join and ranks to earn.
So each of these represents a level or a rank that I did within the Healers Guild.
Great.
And once I got to 3, I became, I think what they called a Grandmaster Herbalist. And then basically, as I did each level, I gained Renown.
Right.
One of the biggest revelations is there's actually a winner to quests.
The Renown is what decides who wins.
A person or a guild?
It's like a company.
And perhaps most importantly, Chris's husband, Ewan, helped us figure out who our characters were a little more. Up until this point, I'd gone with generic country folk from Bretonia, but after talking through our intent and the kind of vibe we were going for, we realized that we were more fitted for Albion. I had no idea what that meant, but it gave us a better starting point to figure out who our characters were from here. So that was good to know. Finally, Ewan showed us his horn and explained how he became the town crier, which led me to learning about a guild that might be the right fit for me.
So do you get paid to be a town crier?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do.
You get copper. If you go to the Bard's Guild and say you'd like to do a town cry.
Ooh,
If there's
there's a
any
Bard's
chips.
Guild?
Yes.
What else can you with the Bard's Guild?
Anything.
Can you join a band?
Probably.
Probably. I mean, the Mad Mage was once in the boy band.
Just like that, our rest was over. It was time to head back into town, this time with a guided tour from our new friends as we headed back into town and explored more.
This is so much better with a guide, thank you. We just sort of wandered, bumbled around.
In Uncle Istefan's Emporium, I experienced the thrill of my first barter, because there was this cute little bunny rabbit that I knew my daughter back home would love, and I only had 3 copper.
Is this for sale? I'm 1 copper short. Do you take dark currency?
Shadow currency.
Shadow currency. For a little girl at home whose life will be all sunshine and rainbows. And
What could you offer me?
Is this we're bartering?
what have I got?
What have you got to offer?
A song.
I'll take a song.
All right. Pink Pony Club, I'm gonna gonna keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. I'm gonna keep on dancing down in West Hollywood. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. Pink Pony Club.
Keep it. Well worth it. Have you thought about going and joining the Bards Guild?
It was in that moment, having purchased the treasure for my daughter back home with the magic of my voice, that I unlocked my true purpose. I was going to join the Bards Guild. And not only that, I was determined to gather like-minded individuals and form a band, which had only been done once before in Sudenburg. Part 7, The Ordeal. If I was going to form a legendary band, the best place to start would be with the manager of the only other band Sudenburg has ever known. That's right, the Mad Mage himself. I needed to learn more about this mysterious character, and with some luck and a touch of charisma, perhaps even recruit him to our cause. We went back to Lainey, the Mad Mage's official artist, who we hoped could enlighten us as to the details of the original band, having been its official depictor.
But he was in a boy band.
He was in a boy band.
Why is that was? Why is there no longer a boy band?
This man here took a vow of silence. He was our best singer. It broke up the boy band.
What?
To become the silent monk.
It was becoming clear that there were many different interesting characters whose stories were the stuff of legend around Swordcraft Quest, one of whom was a notorious orc known as Daruk.
This one here, Daruk, died this afternoon.
Oh no!
They were married and then they got divorced.
And the Mad Mage
was the judge.
Was the judge of the divorce.
Yes. Well,
there is so much politics in Quest.
Okay.
Ewan was on the jury.
He oversaw a divorce, 8 marriages?
the Mad Mage was the judge, but he was also the priest who was divorcing them.
Right.
And he failed the divorce a couple of times before he succeeded.
So how does one succeed or fail a divorce?
Magic. Yeah.
There's so much to learn.
So little time.
Yeah.
I even met the famous drunk pirate from the original Sudenburg boy band.
Are you the drunk pirate from the poster?
Yes, that is me.
Hello, I'm a big fan now.
Now?
As I've only heard of the boy band as of 15 minutes ago. You're the only Quest celebrities I've ever heard of, so...
Hello.
Therefore,
is this now, like, has this handshake unlocked?
It is continuing.
All the pieces were starting to come together. And by this point, it was pretty late in the day, so we were content to head back to camp to set up for dinner and continue our quest the next day. However, even our journey back to camp wouldn't be without its drama.
Might want to keep the little ones off the road in the next couple of minutes. Something big's going to come through and I don't want them to get accidentally hurt.
All right, when you say something big...
Big people, big weapons, a lot of people are going to shoot out.
Thank you for the warning.
Something will hit the fan.
All right.
We've got to get to our tent, away from the battle. We've got to be safe. Quick, come this way.
Come on. Get the safe. Come on.
Oh no, we haven't escaped. Is there another way around? There isn't. We're going to have to make a run for it. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now I should mention at this point, as a side note, that combat is a pretty big part of LARP, as you can probably tell, but I wouldn't be participating in any of it at this quest. You see, the minimum age to participate is actually 15, and my son is quite a while away from that. So while it does look like a lot of fun, my purpose here was to spend time with MJ, so he could enjoy Quest with me as much as possible. And if he loves it, he might stick around long enough to one day fight by my side on the battlefield. But for now, we were here for a combat-free adventure.
I'll take his hand. Yes, I'll take him.
So do we want to work on dinner? Yeah, chicken stew.
Oh. So it was dinner time, and I didn't know before attending Quest that you actually can't light campfires on the ground here, or at least at this event, because of local regulations. But all of our meals were dependent upon having a campfire. Fortunately, the event organizers were easy to reach out to. They actually had their number provided for anyone to call, so I rang them. And they actually found me a rusty but perfectly workable fire pit, which kind of rescued our whole camp experience. So massive shout out and thank you to the event organizers at Quest for facilitating. I promise I will read the instructions next time and bring my own fire pit. I honestly can't fathom camping without campfire cooking. So with that problem solved, we got to work on our chicken stew. Honestly, this was one of my absolute favorite parts of the whole experience. The overwhelming coziness and the charm of cooking a rustic stew, eating from old dishes in medieval outfits, sitting on our extra furry, actually very comfortable bone thrones and reading Del Toro Quest by the campfire under the stars. It is hard to beat that. And the cozy pleasure continued in the frosty morning with another campfire cooked meal, rugged up in our cloaks and filling our bellies with a hearty breakfast before another big day. I think that experience showed me how getting what you want out of your LARP camp really depends on knowing what you want and putting in the work that you need to get it. My experience was heightened and more enjoyable because I'd put in that bit of extra work to make my authentic table and chairs and chest, eating out of vintage bowls with authentic cutlery, bringing everything I needed to enjoy my authentic campfire experience. Except for the fire pit. But if that sort of thing didn't matter to me, I could totally just go to the food truck for breakfast, grab a coffee from the coffee van, gear up and go fight if that's all I wanted to do and enjoy at Quest. My son and I are much more roleplay first LARPers. But with that said, market day was now over. And even that was sprinkled with violence, so we had no idea what to expect on this day. We needed to make sure we were prepared for anything. Heading into town on day 2, the first thing we saw, or heard, I should say, was a glimpse at my potential future in the Bard's Guild questline. We saw a street performer singing for copper in the street.
You have a lovely voice.
But my quest could wait. The first order of business was actually my son's quest. At 11 o'clock every day, they have a kids quest, a daily event held for the children in Suddenberg. Now, unfortunately, my son MJ tripped over about half an hour before the event. The landscape is scattered with these volcanic rocks that poke out of the ground sometimes. They're pretty easy to trip over.
It's funny wizard staff you got there. Whoa, bloody hell.
So he firmly embraced the dirt that morning and was pretty upset. We'd gone back to the tent to recover emotionally and physically. It definitely soured his morning, so much so to the point where he was insisting he didn't want to go to Kids Quest. But after 20 minutes and a little bit of encouragement, he plucked up the courage to go, with me saying that he doesn't have to participate, he can just watch in the background and follow along as the other kids do the quest. So we went to Kids Quest. Now, in the days previous to our attendance, the Kids Quest event entailed completing quests to find magical swords, and on the day we attended, a quest to find the 4th of 4 swords entailed cheering up the town's silent monk. The monk was sad, and nobody knew why, because, well, he couldn't talk due to his vow of silence, so the kids had to figure out a way to cheer him up, trying various things in various places in town.
They are telling me that this poor fellow is extremely sad. What's a way to cheer someone up?
Be funny, be funny. Give him a Kit Kat.
Be funny.
Does anyone know a joke? Does anyone know a joke?
We've got a good one over here.
Can a matchbox? No, but a tin can.
Oh,
That's actually pretty good.
that was pretty good.
I remember the other day with the bard. What happened when he got to sing again? Is there anyone here who knows a song? I met someone yesterday who's new to town, and he can sing a pretty decent song.
Oh, that was you, was it? Oh, no.
Maybe we can convince him to sing a song? Well, go on, convince him.
Do it! Do it! Do it!
'Cause I'm happy like when you feel like with a room without a roof. Now that's a... All right, that was good. Happiness is the truth. No, we've made him more depressed. That didn't work at all.
This is impossible.
Hey!
Eventually, they found just the thing to cheer him up, a toy gonk that needed a good bonking.
You gotta bump the gong. Alright, keep going. Gong has been that way. Go that way. Keep that chant going. Make sure everybody knows. Keep that chant up.
Bonk the gonk. Bonk the gonk. Oh, it's the drunk pirate. Oh, don't drop the gong! Don't drop the gong!
Keep the chant going until he does it.
Now get down to our loitering.
One more.
Yay! Bunky, 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 bunky.
And so the silent monk was cheered up, and to show his gratitude, he gifted the children with a magical sword he'd recently found, which happened to be the fourth and final magical sword required to defeat an evil foe that would emerge the next day. At the start of Kids Quest, MJ was pretty miserable, but by the end, and after having participated with this shameless silliness, maybe the other kids didn't know it, but the silent monk wasn't the only one who they cheered up that day.
Hey!
You'll get slashed with this thing if you don't subscribe.
Uncle Istvan from Uncle Istvan's Emporium the day before was the one who ran Kids Quest. He did an incredible job. And I'm unsure as to whether it's the fact that I was obviously a YouTuber or that he was so touched by my musical performance the day before, he graciously took us aside after Kids Quest to explain a little bit about how and why they put Kids Quest together.
With each day, the hope is to teach the kids an important part of role-playing. An orc kidnapped a maiden to marry her against her will, teaching them about consent. On Tuesday, they had to help someone whose job was at risk because he let a sacred flame go out. So it was about identifying someone who is in need of desperate help and doing what you can to support them through it. On Wednesday, the bard had made some very bad bets, and it cost him his voice and his busking license, so he couldn't make a living. So taught kids about making better choices. Yesterday was about the earth, so there's all these little poisonous mushrooms around. The kids had to collect it and cleanse the earth, and that was to try and get them to, be mindful of Mother Nature. Today, honestly, was about mental health. Someone who's really depressed, sometimes you can cheer them up, sometimes you can't. So the fact that stages through he couldn't be cheered up, continual support, we got him to be cheered up.
With Kids Quest complete, it was time to head back to camp for a snack and a short break before heading out again.
Out of character. I got complimented. We just had a lunch break over near the food van. Got complimented for my outfit. I'm so used to making stuff that I show on the internet to, internet people, but it never feels like it translates in real life. And someone went up and everyone else looks so cool, but someone came up to me and said, "That looks cool." And I went, "That feels nice."
It was very genuine.
Now I can see why people get into this and put so much pride into it.
Human mode.
With another boost of confidence, it was time to pick up my main quest line, to find and join the Bards Guild and form a legendary band.
I've never joined a guild before and I'm a little bit nervous.
Not to worry,
What's involved?
There's very little paperwork on your end.
All right.
We just take down your details and give you a pin to acknowledge your presence with us. And then
okay.
you find all sorts of jobs, employment, and other things with us.
All right. And earn copper.
Earn copper in plenty. We pay our bards.
Hey!
Now, you'll be starting out with us as a rank 1 bard, but perhaps through time, you'll be able to make your way up the ladder. And the skill set that you'll be bringing to us here.
Well, I have no instrument, but I can play drums if required. But I can sing.
Excellent.
I hope.
I'm happy to welcome you to the Sudenburg Bards.
Just like that, I'm a bard.
Just like that, you're a bard in Sudenburg.
That's lovely, little flower. What do I do now?
Well, if you want the right to busk, we have our busking permits, which are a cost, but they are simply a copper. That lets you perform in the street to earn your own coin.
I would love a busking permit. That's 1 copper.
I was a newly minted bard, so I wouldn't go straight to the Mad Mage to form a band. I needed to first prove my worth as a solo performer.
I'm a qualified bard, musician.
Okay, what do we do now?
Well, I can earn some coin by singing on the streets. And we're on the streets.
That'll be embarrassing.
Can I borrow your hat? Qualified musician. Sweet. Are we gonna jam? Sorry, are you in the Bards Guild?
Yes, that is the clock.
Oh.
It's 1 o'clock.
All right, sorry. I took the wrong cue. That was lovely. Let's see if I can earn my copper back. I used to be a busker back in the day. This is my only other copper. This is all I got. But it makes it look like Someone liked it at least. Psychological manipulation. You'll take the high road and I'll take the low road on the bonny, bonny banks of Albion. It's quiet. Pink Pony Club. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. Laura, 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 now don't you cry.
Elves would like it if you stopped bothering their customers.
Oh, how many coppers is that worth? Wait, bothering?
These are words that I am telling you, not from me.
I got me first busking income. Hey!
I was now officially a paid musician, so it was time to find the Mad Mage and see if I could recruit him to my mad plan to bring back the band.
You told me all about this boy band thing.
Yes.
I was wondering if you wanted to start a new one.
I really, really do. It's been 10 years since the boys last performed.
I have no idea what the repertoire is. I have no idea
We had one song, only one performance. The town was burnt down shortly after, and the exact nature of the song has been lost. I kind of remember the rhythm. Some of us kind of remember the words, but
I earned my first income as a busker. Ah! Then I dropped it in the. What do you reckon that's worth? They gave it to me to shut up.
that's definitely worth not talking.
Laura, 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 Laura,
I think you might be the lead singer.
I had officially impressed the Mad Mage and convinced him to form a band with me. So our first order of business was to pick a band name.
We need a new name!
All right,
And from this point on, you'll notice that the name of our band is censored. That's because the name that we improvised was, unknowingly to us, an obscure term in another language that has been used at times by anti-Semitic groups.
It's perfect! It's even more genuine!
That is really good, actually.
It's really good!
We, of course, had no idea of this and would proceed to shout the name of our band about town for the next few hours until it would be brought to our attention later. Whoops. Anyway, my main quest path was updated, and next I needed to find and recruit members for my legendary band, the first of which actually immediately presented themselves.
Do you want to join a boy band that isn't gendered towards boys in particular?
Absolutely, I have maracas.
Really?
Yes.
You have maracas? You could be our lead maracist.
Hooray! Come find me.
Don't go.
Oh, you need to go talk to my friends.
She's already quit the band.
No. I will be back.
You better. You're our only maracist. Yeah. You're the best maracist we've ever had.
Find the one with the hurdy-gurdy.
The hurdy-gurdy man. I know him. You with the hurdy-gurdy.
Yes.
We're starting a boy band. Mad Mage is in.
All right.
He's the only one in the original boy band.
When?
I'll see you at 4 o'clock. I'll see you at 4 o'clock. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm being proactive, at least. We have created a boy band. Let's just call it the band. Right.
Perfect.
We're going to meet for the first ever rehearsal in front of the Bards Guild, 4 p.m. today.
4 p.m. today. Daruk's funeral is at 5 p.m. The boys may be having their final ever reunion at the funeral of Daruk.
It's meant to be.
Me, you are. It is the passing of the torch.
Right.
As Suddenberg's first to Suddenberg's second boy / band.
I'm feeling tears well up inside me.
Absolutely, me
in several places, and I'm grateful for the chance you've given us to.
Thank you so much. I shall make sure to tell the world.
Yeah.
Let me.
Do you want a hug?
Yeah.
I had done it. I had successfully become a bard and convinced the Mad Mage to start a new band and recruited members of this band. Our debut performance would be in a few hours' time, which we hadn't rehearsed for. I also wasn't sure what our genre of music would be, what songs would be performing, or who some of the members of the band were. But I was pretty sure everything would turn out just fine. At this point, I'd certainly had enough of my obnoxious turn of roleplay. Now it's time to focus on MJ, who wanted to figure out a way to earn more copper at Quest. So with a few more coppers in hand, we headed back to camp so I could change out of my armor and into something a little more boy band appropriate. It was 4 p.m, the time I'd asked my new band members to meet outside the Bards Guild. The man mage had assured me that he would also recruit band members to join us.
Is it happening?
Well, we're hoping.
We're hoping. Now, I have been I'm talking to people like this like crazy, and then inconsistently, because I got distracted a lot. So I have no idea how many people are going to arrive. But I feel like if we're loud enough. Outside the Bard competition now!
That's so
it has been
cool.
described as, what's a a question we shall answer!
The Grand Tapestry was further revealing itself to me. There was a guy there who had also been playing the Silent Monk, and it turns out the Silent Monk was the same Silent Monk that was in the boy band. And that was the reason the boy band broke up, was because the monk took a vow of silence, and he was the lead singer. It's all connected.
This is the history. The boy band broke up because our lead singer took their vow of silence.
Right, and that was
not a very similar shape.
Very similar shape.
But anyway, with the way things were starting off with my new band, the G***s, I couldn't even tell if the second ever Sudenburg band would even get off the ground. Oh, and apparently our lead maracas had quit because she was nowhere to be seen.
Well, you were collecting the instruments. I was just telling people.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Where's our maracas?
Where's our maracas?
She quit the band for a second time in the day. And our first performance has to be bigger than the boy band.
Well, that's easy. If you just do it now, it'll already be bigger.
Well, let's just do it now.
All right.
There was nothing to it but to start and do what we could with what we had. We had a lead singer, me, hurdy-gurdy, which I hadn't realised was basically a drone instrument, and a trumpeter I'd never met before.
That's good. That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Okay, I'm already considering this a massive success. Oh my God. Anything from here on is just a butter on the dumpling. Okay, that's a really good second song. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Just as we had started to find our voice as a band, a local shopkeeper came up and tapped me on the shoulder and showed me the Googled definition of our band name, whereupon we realised we needed a different band name.
No, that's a bad thing. Oh, was that a bad thing?
It's a very bad thing. What did we do?
Accidentally did a racism. Oh, we're accidentally racist.
Oh, good. No, we need to change the name immediately.
At this point, our lead maracas finally showed up in the midst of our scrambling to completely rebrand and quit the band again.
You can't leave the band 3 times in one day.
You need to go figure out your
No, we did. We're not anti-Semitic anymore. This is the second time she's quit today.
But we did strike gold. We found the perfect name. A band name so perfect that if anybody in Sudenburg uttered it, they would know exactly who it was referring to.
What about the noise?
The noise.
It's even better.
Because we're not bringing people joy. Let's face it, we're bringing people noise. That's it. We are the noise. It's our third iteration, but we got it. We got it. Let's make some noise. That's our tagline. We are the noise.
And so, The Noise had its first public appearance. Joined once again by our estranged lead maracas and a new guy who played the accordion, apparently. The Noise uplifted the town of Sudenburg, healed broken hearts and brought tears of joy and of other emotions. I guess you could say The Noise was a critical hit. We even played the entrance song to an infestation of giant rats in Sudenburg. So that's pretty cool.
Who let the rats in? I really am trying to ask the question.
Alas, our debut performance came to a bittersweet ending. For our first performance would also be our last. It was time for farewells and speeches as we departed.
Mothers, sisters, thank you for being here. I shall forever cherish the time that we spent together as the noise.
The noise.
The noise.
I got it right this time. I am so glad to have been a part of this. Something that came together out of such small pieces, and such a fresh experience came together into something truly magical. And I want to thank every single one of you, for being part of the noise.
That's right, because we are all part of the noise when you think about it.
Now,
we all have a little bit of noise deep down inside us.
Actually, I'd like to introduce you to someone.
Part 8, The Reward. After our performances, I was introduced to, out of character, Darren, who also happened to be a fan of my content. So we got to chatting a bit, and it turns out that many of the legendary stories that I've been hearing, he had been a part of, and they started to take on a new depth. Darren explained that the character he was currently dressed as was a temporary fill-in character, but that his main character, who had been playing for over 4 years, was the famous orc drummer known as Daruk. The same Daruk of legend from the original boy band, known for his many marriages and divorces and his drumming, and for his notable appearance on The Bachelor. The same Daruk who was killed the day prior, and whose funeral would be held later that day. See, Darren had decided that Daruk would die because he, in the real world, is from Singapore and his visa was expiring. So he had to say goodbye to all of the LARP friends he'd shared this hobby with over his years here in Australia. People who he'd seen and played with for years as this music and mischief-loving orc who now they had to all say goodbye to. It became clear that Darren really cared about his character Daruk, as did many of the other people here at Quest.
This character is basically just a new character that I created up because they died and everything.
So you made this character just for this quest?
Just for
the few days?
Just for the few days.
Because you knew you were going to kill your character?
Everything, yes.
Oh wow.
And people still know Dirk, so I'm going around asking people, hey, I'm looking for a blue drummer, or and I'll see that face, all sad, I'm like, yes, I did it.
And because it became clear that Daruk was so well known amongst quest goers, and because his mask looked really cool, I asked Darren if he would don his mask and duck away with me so we could take some photos for this video's thumbnail, which we had to do in hiding because technically his character was dead and we didn't want to break immersion. I invited the Mad Mage to take a few photos as well, and after posing for a few, he decided the best way for me to get some authentic photos of the Mad Mage would be for him to do what he was most known for, which was tell stories.
1 year ago today, to start all of this, you received a letter. Hot singles in your area. Please tell them to come to the Chaos Shrine with all of your money and no weapons and make as much noise as possible. Not only did Daruk not find love, Daruk wasn't even mugged.
As Daruk's funeral drew ever nearer, the LARP facade started to slip a little bit, and the characters before me started to show a bit more of their real selves.
It's all silly fun, it's happy. Because if I don't make it silly fun and happy, I'll get to like me. I'll be really sad that my friend Darren is coming away. Anyway, sorry.
If I'm sad going away, I want all of you guys to be sad going, seeing me off.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Love's fun. Love's really, really fun. Yeah.
And shortly after this, we headed off to Daruk's funeral, where I witnessed something magical. And not like LARPy magical, but like actually like pretty magical. From the center of Sudenburg, the funeral procession for Daruk began. Daruk's mask was laid in the center beside his broken drum. The drum that Darren had carefully made many years ago for this character, now shattered and laid bare in front of his mourning friends. And then as the sun hung low in the sky, the funeral for Daruk was held. Friends, and even many who once fought against him on the battlefield, bid farewell to a blue-faced orc they had come to know and love. What unfolded in front of me was a duality of moments. On the one hand, it was LARP, a bunch of enthusiastic and dramatically inclined people partaking in a wholesome theatrical exercise, enriching their shared world. The funeral itself was a crucial part of the ongoing narrative of Sudenburg, one man going as far as forsaking his own god for the loss of Daruk.
I cannot mourn a close friend and a great ally under my own faith that my god does not deserve my worship.
And it wasn't without its whimsy. Daruk's friends and members of a former boy band from many years ago reunited for the first time since they were disbanded for one last performance without their drummer.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
And even the silent monk whose character hadn't uttered a word in years, like real world years, broke his vow of silence to sing for his fallen friend.
Silence comes, my heart speaks. Good night, dear Rook, in eternal peace.
And all of Suddenberg united to roar in honor of Daruk. But on the other hand, as theatrical as this whole LARP experience was, this moment felt incredibly real. Darren sat in the costume of another character, witnessing the funeral of an orc character he'd played for many years, participating in one last dramatic event. But the reality of the situation was profoundly touching. All these people standing around mourning the loss of a fictional character have other lives. I imagine some of them are teachers or tradespeople. Perhaps there was an accountant or a nurse or a garbage truck driver or a doctor, but none of that mattered. What mattered were the parts of themselves that they decided to share with others. Darren shared his love of drums with his friends through Daruk. His playful nature participated in improvised stories that would become the stuff of hilarious legend to be told for years to come. And while everyone at that funeral was in one way performing their mourning, in another way, they were real people expressing heartfelt love for a friend they were genuinely going to miss. We live in a world of social expectations. Like, if you have a friend who's going to go away, who you may not see again, maybe you get together and have a little goodbye party, you bring a card, maybe there's finger food, there might be a speech or two. But in my experience, it's very unlikely that people would openly mourn missing their friend, grieve the circumstances that takes them away from you. I witnessed an open vulnerability shared between everyone here, where in any other situation, one might be worried to look foolish or silly expressing themselves emotionally. Everyone here came to be foolish and silly. Therefore, there's no risk. Ergo, there is also now a safe place to cry, to mourn or wail, to give gifts or express sentiments that in other settings would be overdoing it. But here is just the unfiltered, genuine expression of love for a friend and a gratitude for the way he's brought joy to them through being a part of their own story and assuring him while he is here that he will be remembered. That is a gift I've never seen given to anyone in such a real, genuine, heartfelt way as I did at the make-believe funeral of a fictional character at a LARP camp. Part 9, The Road Back. I spent my last night at Quest with a feeling of swelling in my heart. I wasn't sure how much it was the performances and the shared love of this world that felt so fulfilling, or how much it was just being a part of a genuinely emotionally cathartic event, seeing so much raw and sincere expression. But in the end, I think it was both. The suspension of disbelief I enjoyed, as well as the belief in the true love of this hobby shared by everyone around me and their genuine care for each other. At the beginning, I was worried about fitting in or knowing the rules. I was anxious that my efforts to contribute, be it through my bone thrones or my costume, would fit in or be contributing in the right way. By the end, I felt looked after. Every moment I felt unsure, I was met with encouragement and guidance, and my contributions were noticed and appreciated in a way that felt uniquely, creatively gratifying. When it all started, I knew none of the characters or stories from previous quests or people who were attending. But when I left, not only did I know many of the legends and stories, I'd created my own. A band that I formed and performed with on the streets of Suddenberg, inspired by one that came before. And while I doubt that the noise would be spoken of in hushed, reverent tones, I certainly would never forget my short-lived time as its lead singer. At the beginning, I was just focused on how to prepare or what to bring to Quest, without any idea that by the time I left, I would be taking with me treasures and trophies that would remind me of the adventures that I had. Trinkets and treasures like my first earnings as a busker or my busking license from the Bards Guild. I was even given this magical spoon that cursed me with hiccups until I could give this spoon to someone else, which I guess I'm gonna have to do next year. When it started, I barely knew anyone. By the time I left, I felt like I had made friends who I can't wait to see next year and greet with open arms. Part 10, Return with the Elixir. Now, if you didn't notice, my clever little insert of titles in my numbered list are actually excerpts of steps in the hero's journey. The last step is the return with the elixir. So what is the elixir that I have come back with? What are the truths that I can now share with the ordinary world? Well, it's quite simple. I learned that LARP is a bunch of nonsense. It's exactly what it looks like in all those TV shows and movies. People do shout obscure phrases and oaths dramatically, they do dress up in costumes and sometimes speak with funny voices and accents and pretend to get married or be murdered or join a cult or get a job, but because everyone around you is participating so wholeheartedly in this nonsense and committed to upholding its importance and respecting its rules, it creates a really cool safe space to express yourself without needing to fear looking silly, because everyone else is too. And because of the safety that this space, this exercise provides, emotions aren't frowned on as an imposition to normal socializing, but they're rewarded and admired for intensifying this shared imaginary world, where you can take the parts of yourself that you most enjoy sharing and inhabiting and allow them to bloom, where you can be a version of yourself, whether for one evening or a few weeks or for many, many years, that people will recognize as a genuine piece of you and a part that is valuable. So yes, as the Mad Mage says, it's all a bunch of silly nonsense. And I got exactly what I was expecting in that regard, because I was so excited to participate in a bunch of silly nonsense. But what I did not expect is how meaningful that nonsense could be at times. We live in a world that is too often too serious, with too much judgment and too many consequences. I adored every second of my adventure as JAZZA'S, my escape with my son, Stephen, into the world of Sudenburg, and I will definitely be going again. We're back in the real world, having been changed forever. That is what happens after the hero's journey, and I genuinely feel like I've been on a bit of a hero's journey. It was so much fun. A whole bunch of silly nonsense, but also really meaningful. And that phrase, meaningful nonsense, which occurred to me when I was at LARP, has just stuck with me ever since as just a phrase I've totally fallen in love with, because it describes not only what LARP was, but what motivates me to do what I do here on this channel. A bunch of nonsense, but meaningful, because I get to share creativity with people and you get to come on that journey with me and we get to become more inspired every day. I worked with Elixir to make an artwork inspired by our adventurers, featuring JAZZA'S himself and his son, Stephen, in a world of other dramatic adventurers, inspired by many of the people that we saw and interacted with at LARP. Not ripping them directly, because that just sort of feels a bit wrong, but I wanted to make this to share with you. And if you enjoyed this video, and if you love meaningful nonsense yourself, please consider getting it as a poster, as a support to the channel, and something nerdy for you to enjoy. I love that phrase so much, I've also turned it into some merch, because I want to wear it, because I love meaningful nonsense. So if you love meaningful nonsense, check them out. I'll put the link in the description. It's all a support to the channel. Now, you've made it to the end of a very long video, so thank you for watching. And if you have enjoyed it, which I'm assuming you have, because this is a lot to get through, just make sure to be careful to like and subscribe, otherwise young Stephen might slash you with that sword he found.
You'll get slashed with this thing if you don't subscribe.
And a huge thank you to you for watching and joining me. This has just been some of the most fun I've had ever, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. Thanks for watching.